Okay, so I did this. Now I have a new state. Previously I had this state. This was a bag too. If I had, if I have just one bag of groceries, bag of groceries I bought, I put it in the big bag that was here. Now I had two bags and I combined this. That's a big bag again. Now I do the same reasoning from this bag. So I will put in actions whose preconditions are holding. Put in actions whose preconditions are holding in the previous bag. Okay, the bag, by the way, is called the proposition list. This is called the action list, this is called the proposition list. Okay, so the proposition list, anything whose preconditions are holding can be put in. By now you notice that things are actually becoming a little more busy. So everything can be just remaining by not doing anything. Right, so have cake can remain have cake, not have cake can remain not have cake, eaten cake can remain eaten cake, not eaten cake can remain not eaten cake. In addition, you can eat cake here, you can still eat cake here too. Right? Because the bag still contains eat. But previously you could bake cake here because baked cake required not eaten cake. Baked cake requires not have cake. And in the previous bag you had a cake. So you are stopped from baking it. But by here, you are taken care of it. You don't have a cake, so you can bake it. All this structure is doing is putting links between the actions and the proper preconditions and effects. Okay, that's it. Just keep doing this. Now the question is, how long do I need to do this? When do I stop? To understand when you stop, you realize that this action list is a superset of this action list. Anything that can be done here can still be done here. There are only a finite number of actions. You'll do them all by some level. After that, nothing is going to change. Do you see what I'm saying? Even another different way of thinking about it is, if between two levels, the bag hasn't changed, the proposition list hasn't changed, there's no point in expanding it any further. Right? Because even if you expand, you'll get the exact same set of actions. Okay? This is actually better than just saying wait for all the actions to come, because some actions will never come. Do you realize that? Because I can have an action which requires a precondition, impossible precondition. An impossible precondition is not true in the initial state. Nobody adds impossible precondition as their effect. So this action will never come into the planning graph. That's fine. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so all you care about is expand this until two layers are the same. Then you stop. And you're guaranteed that this will be done in polynomial time. Now, so instead of computing this, you computed this. It looks as if this is easier to compute. I understand how to write a program for it. But the ease with which you write a program and the time that program takes are two completely different things. Infinite loop is extremely easy to write. And it takes infinite amount of time. Right? Okay, so this program basically terminates in polynomial time. This one takes exponential time because it's generating all possible states. Now, however, this can be used as an approximation to that. In particular, if you wanted to know what is the cost of achieving one particular literal, then I essentially start from here and look for the first level where that literal appears. And that index is the length of the plan. If I'm looking for a set of literals that must be achieved together, then I start here, look for the first level, that entire set is present. That would be my estimate. Now these estimates are obviously not correct because they're ignoring negative interactions. Okay? They're ignoring negative interactions. But if you basically take this level idea, that means when you're looking for a set of literals and you're asking what is the cost, and you say, go to the first level where that entire set is present and take the index of that level and say that's the length of the plan. That's guaranteed to be admissible. And it's also going to be more informed than the set difference, because it actually takes into account how many actions you have to do to get there, at least in some approximate sense. Yes?
So for this particular example, you stop at S1 because we have our cake and we've eaten it, so that the heuristic would give us something.
Yes, yes. So the interesting thing, of course, is, so in fact, according to this, the distance, the amount of time taken to reach eat and not eat, eaten cake and not eaten cake, is also one length plan. That tells you how stupid this heuristic is, right? So as I was doing this, I sort of said somewhere, I hope, that ignore the gray parts. Did I say it earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, I did say it. The gray parts, we'll come back to them later. The gray parts are essentially bringing in a little bit of negative interactions. That becomes more interesting. And so the basic idea there would be that in the gray part, I'll just say it anyway, I'll start by saying that in the beginning, first level, you will mark any pair of actions as negatively interacting if they are negatively interacting. That means one action requires either a precondition or an effect that is being deleted by the other action. Do you see what I'm saying? So I need P and some other action is giving a not P. Or I need, and I'm parallel to it. So basically that's the negative interaction. So in this particular case, eat cake and have cake are marked. Why? Because after eating the cake, you won't have the cake. The have cake action is a no-op action which gives have cake back. Have cake, not have cake, can't have it. So you'll put a negative interaction there. This is simple. So similarly, eat cake is also negatively interacting with this. So these are called mutex or mutual exclusion relations. Okay? Now, once I have mutual exclusion relations, I can propagate them forward. One of the things I will do is I would not put an action into the next level if its preconditions are mutually exclusive. So even though they are there actually, if they are marked to be mutually exclusive, that means they are not really there together. Right? That's one thing. And the second thing is when I come here, I will mark certain propositions mutually exclusive if every way of achieving one proposition is mutually exclusive with every way of achieving the other proposition. This is a strong requirement. If proposition 1 has 5 actions supporting it, notice that there are multiple things incident by a certain time. By here, right? This have cake can be made through by this action as well as this action. So multiple actions can be trying to make it true. So if I have 5 guys making this proposition true, there is another 7 guys making the other proposition true, there are 35 pairs. If all those pairs are mutually exclusive, then these 2 propositions are mutually exclusive. I mean, there is no way of making you true and me true at the same time. If even one of the pairs is not mutually exclusive, it is possible for both to be possible. Because maybe you would be done by that guy and I would be done by this guy and they are not mutually exclusive. So the mutual propagation in this direction would go saying 2 propositions are marked mutually exclusive if in fact every way of achieving one proposition is mutually exclusive with every way of achieving the other proposition. And the next thing is actions. Once I mark the propositions mutually exclusive, I need to mark the actions mutually exclusive. The way I mark the actions mutually exclusive is if any precondition of one of the actions is mutually exclusive with any precondition of other of the actions, then the 2 actions can't be done together. Why? Because preconditions are an and. All preconditions must hold. For me to be done, all 3 guys need to come with me. For you to come to the party, these 3 guys have to come. If any pair of them can't stand together, we can't go to the party together. Do you see what I'm saying? So the actions basically become mutually exclusive faster. Because if any one of the pairs of preconditions is mutually exclusive, then the two actions become mutually exclusive. And if in fact an action has preconditions that are themselves mutually exclusive, the action shouldn't even be there. What are you doing? You know, you must be kidding yourself thinking I have preconditions, but they're actually mutually exclusive. If you do that, then you get actually the structure that you have, where you are not only propagating just the action, but you're also propagating mutual exclusions. And you have the mutual exclusions. The interesting question then would be, what is the level of a set of propositions? It would be the first level where all those propositions are in the list and no pair of them are marked mutually exclusive. No pair are marked mutually exclusive. That would be a better estimate than the first one, because that is going to be probably longer length plan than the first one. That is taking some negative interactions into account. The reason it's some negative interactions rather than all is because doing just this binary mutex propagation is only polynomial time, still. And it cannot be the case that you can do a polynomial time construction of the data structure and get exact estimates of the plan lengths, which take p-space complete problems. And the reason that is the case is you will only consider if pairs are mutually exclusive. You don't consider if triples are mutually exclusive. For example, there can be a party that I'm trying to hold. It turns out that any pair of you can get along, but there are three of you who can't get along. That means, basically there are no mutual exclusions between the pairs, but there is a mutual exclusion between the three set. And to do that, then you have to actually consider and track these higher order mutual exclusions, and that becomes costlier and costlier. With higher order 3 array mutual exclusions will be n cube time, 4 array would be n power 4 time, and at some point of time you'll do n power n, which is exponential amount of. Okay, so the basic thing that I said here, and probably I will mention this later too, is that you try to do the relaxed plans by relaxing the domain, and you did that essentially by just constructing this planning graph data structure, and then that gives the estimates of the level of a literal. And then if you also propagate mutexes, then you can actually also get even better estimate. Now I'll end this by saying, I think that if you see the end of your textbook for that chapter, you'll see that this particular idea was done in a class just like this back in 2001. We were playing around with planning graphs, and I set up a project. Those days, I guess, we used to have more interesting projects. And so basically we found a way of using planning graph data structure that was actually developed for a completely different use. And then, as part of the project, in fact, we were able to see that it actually can be used for heuristics. And so that's part of the reason why there is this thing saying lecture notes by Rao. That's lecture notes for this class. Okay? It's kind of good because, this will never happen in physics, because people who do this kind of stuff in physics and still teach undergrad courses would have to be 195 years old. So we'll stop here. I assume that you will have to look at the planning graph heuristics a little more, so I might spend some more time next class. But the main topic next class is actually going to be propositional logic, which is knowledge.